What's up, legends? Just wanted to jump in here real quick, just in the middle of my day. Just wrapped up filming an interview with a member of the High Ticket Sales Academy, a guy called Josh. And I thought everybody would find that really interesting to watch because he was somebody who didn't know anything about the high ticket space. He'd never worked online before. In fact, he was a manager at McDonald's. And inside of 45 days, he landed his first offer. And 30 days after landing that offer, he broke a company record with the most closed sets from anybody in the company history. And the company's been running for 7 years. Very, very successful company. They do about $7 million a month. So super successful company. And he came in and inside of 30 days crushed. So I did an interview with Josh just to get his take on what life was like before, what he experienced coming into the academy. It's a great day today because we've also got three other members who have landed positions, and we are actively hiring for another 4 or 5 positions from inside of the High Ticket Sales Academy. So, without further ado, I will splice over to that video, and hopefully you enjoy it. Josh, how's
Yeah,
things?
it's going good. How's it going?
Good, mate. Yeah, good. Appreciate you taking some time out. I wanted to just get a bit of a flavor, I suppose, of your experience and what you've gone through and where you came from, all of that kind of good stuff holistically. Um, so let's start with this. How were you, before you joined the Remote Closing Academy, how were you feeling about it? Do you know what I mean? What was going through your mind, whether you should join, whether you shouldn't join, all of that kind of stuff?
Um, to be totally honest with you, whether to join or not it wasn't really a question. It was something I was definitely doing because obviously I've known you and Isaac for longer than I can actually think about now, but I've not ever heard bad things about the high ticket space, and I've always really wanted to be involved in it. So it
Okay.
seemed like a very good way for me to actually get involved.
Where did that come from? Like what had you thinking, okay, this looks like something I should be involved with?
Well, I, like most people in the high ticket space, didn't really know what I wanted to do in life. Obviously, I know Isaac was very much so of that demographic as well. And I saw what is possible and what you can do in the high ticket space. And from there, it was just a no brainer.
You mean you could see, people were making money, they were working remotely, they were able to make money online without going through the traditional, like, okay, if you want to make money online, you've got to be doing Amazon FBA, or you've got to be doing drop shipping, or you've got to build your own business and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah, no, it was especially like witnessing it firsthand, like having the freedom and the money and everything else that comes with normal high paying jobs, except for the fact that I've now got more time than I know what to do with and more freedom than I know what to do with. So,
Sounds terrible. Sounds terrible. Loads of time, loads of freedom. Sounds
yeah,
absolutely awful, mate.
absolutely horrendous.
So give me a kind of understanding of where you were prior to coming into the space. Like, what were you doing? What was going on?
To be totally honest with you, I don't think I could have got much worse. I was working at McDonald's as a manager, absolutely hated the job, the people, everything about it.
Why?
It was just for me dealing with people that were younger than me, even at only being 21, who were just very immature and were kind of just at work for the sake of being at work or because their parents had told them that they needed to get a job. It was just so frustrating having to deal with not only that, but then the flip side of it is the rest of the management team, even our higher ups, just didn't really care. So it was just, here you are, off you pop, and see you later. If you've got any problems, then tough. You have to deal
Right.
with it. So getting
Was it
away,
long hours, dude?
it could be. I mean, the longest shift I did while I was there was 18 hours.
You did an 18-hour shift?
Yep.
And I guess as a manager, it's not like you're sat down in an office all day, right? You're on
Oh
your feet.
no, I was in the midst of it, sorting problems left, right, and center, and doing more work than everybody else, and not really getting much reward from it.
Right. What what was the remuneration like? Like the wage as a manager, what was that like?
Um, it in comparison to the rest of the people, it was okay, but in the grand scheme of things, it was pretty rubbish. I was on like £14 an hour, which totals to like not even 2,000 a month after tax,
And how many hours a week were you working?
at least 40.
At least. And it could be as much as how much?
50, sometimes 60, depending on how many days or how many hours I'd do in a shift. It was pretty intense sometimes.
Brutal.
Yeah.
So what was it that made you, other than, other than seeing like the income and the freedom that people can have in the high ticket space? Because I get that that's a driver. But even with that, there's still a lot of people that are going to be skeptical. Do you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of bad coaching, there's a lot of bullshit offers, there's a lot of bait and switch marketing out there. So what was it that made you go, right, like, fuck it, this cannot be the rest of my life? What was that kind of that inflection moment that made you go, right, I got to do something different?
I mean, to be totally honest with you, I mean, not very many people admit this, especially being men, but I cried at work because I was that like overwhelmed and didn't have a clue what to do. And it was that point where I was like, you know what, I don't get paid enough for this, nor do I have to deal with this anymore. So you know what? See you later.
Dude, yeah, that's bad. So what was your decision so from that moment, what was your decision making process that made you go, right, that's it. I'm changing this. I'm not gonna do this anymore.
Decision making process. I mean, I kind of always knew that I was wanting to come to high ticket, and I had spoken to Isaac quite a lot about coming to high ticket and didn't really know where to start or what to do. And he was like, "Oh, well, luckily enough for you that we're creating a training program, and here's the link. Here you go." And I was like, "Sweet, let's go."
Nice, easy as that. And just for context, for anybody that watches this, Isaac is my son. He's been in the high ticket space since 2015. Um, much to much to our well, I was going to say much to our dismay. It wasn't, but when he came to us fresh from college and went, "Yeah, I'm going to quit college and do what you do, Dad," I was like, "Oh shit." Well, you
I
can
remember
have that
that.
conversation with your mother. But how can I say no, right? It's afforded me an incredible life, and what am I supposed to do? Tell him no? That college is the way forward because in my core, I don't believe that it is. I
I
think
don't think it is either.
I think it suits some people. Like if you want a traditional job, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a teacher, stuff like that. Great. The problem is that the economy and the world has changed exponentially so much over the last 20 years, just with the dawn of the internet and then social media and I think college just sets people up to be an employee and to have capped earnings and to essentially build somebody else's dream, right? That's your job as an employee. You are there to build someone else's business. Whereas in the online world, yes, you're still working for another company, but you're self-employed inside of that company. You are an independent contractor, so you're constantly building your own thing. So what was I going to do? Tell him no? It's like I can't tell him no, can I?
To be honest, I think that's kind of just a parent thing though, because I had that conversation with my dad when I was like, when I finally had enough, and I was like, you know what, this is where I'm going, and he was like, but what if it doesn't work? I was like, but that's not a possibility for me. It is going to work. I'm going to make sure it works. And now look at me.
Dude, it was the same when I left. Somebody said, well, a lot of friends said to me, they said, well, what if it doesn't pan out? So what I did is I made sure that I had at least a 3 month runway in terms of earnings, right? So I knew that no matter what, bills were paid, food was covered. We had, enough kind of rainy day fund so that if the bloody washing machine blew up, we could afford. So I made sure that I had 3 month runway. And my thought process was, if it doesn't work, I'll just go and get another job in sales. Like, what have I got to lose, right? It's like it was just a no-brainer for me at that point because it was like even if it doesn't work, at least I've tried. At least I
Hmm.
gave it a shot. But I don't want to be the guy that wakes up every Monday morning and goes, "Oh, here we go again," and then not have tried to do anything about it. Right. So my kind of worst case scenario was if it doesn't work, I'll just go and get another sales job, which means nothing will have changed. Only I will have had like a 3 month break, which
Yeah.
I was burnt out of shit and I could have done with at the time. So as it happens, I jumped. It worked famously, amazingly, and like you said, here we are.
Yeah.
Um,
And
go on.
just to touch on one of the things that you said, the waking up and feeling, oh, and going to work. You know what? How long have I been in my role now? Exactly 2 months, actually.
Mhm.
And not once have I woken up and gone, oh, I've got to go to work. I've enjoyed every single day and every single minute. It's
That's crazy, dude. So tell me a bit more about that. Why the shift from waking up dreading going into Mackey's as a manager to waking up going, let's rock and roll. What is that like? Tell me what that's like for you, just to be able to wake up and enjoy what you do.
I don't actually think I could describe what it's like because it's such a change from how I had like my outlook on work in general from where I was even 3 months ago to now. Like being able to wake up and actually want to do my job is just the most amazing feeling ever. And getting paid for it and on the flip side is also brilliant. But I guess what changed was that I now work with such a supportive group of people, whether that be the management, the people around me, like even just the leads that I speak to are 10 times more positive than the people that I used to work with. And just being in such a positive and uplifting environment where everybody hypes each other up. And if you do something well, you get called up on it. And even if you're doing something bad, people will offer to help you is just so much better than where I was before, where if I was doing bad, it was kind of just like suck it up and get on with it. And
Figure it out.
if I did something good, it was, oh well, do it again. It was just like it's such a shift in work environment, and it's made my outlook on going to work so much nicer.
So obviously you came into the high ticket sales academy. You came to learn the process. You came to learn appointment setting because you're an appointment setter, not a closer, right? Closer is the next step up for you for sure. You're doing appointment setting. What's your experience been like inside of the HTSA, High Ticket Sales Academy?
It was, well, as I've said to Isaac multiple times, and I know I've referenced him a lot in this, but we do talk a lot. We are
It's not the
friends.
bloody Isaac show, Josh.
It's not, but we are friends and we do talk. But I said to him once I had got into my role, like, I am forever grateful for the both of you because coming into the High Ticket Sales Academy, has quite literally changed my life in the sense that coming to the sessions and learning not only how to conduct myself on setting calls and in within the sales space, but also within life as well. Like the sessions that you and Josh have done on how to set yourself up for success outside of work and how to get all your practices in place and how to keep yourself switched on has also helped not only in a work sense but in a life sense. Like I now make sure I eat well, I make sure I drink lots of water, I make sure I go to the gym and go for a walk and just have everything outside of sales in place, but also now have the skills and all of the knowledge to actually do the sales part of my life.
Yeah. So what is life like now on the other side of being a valued member of HTSA? Talk us through what life is like for you.
In what sense? As in how I
Any
feel or
sense.
what I do?
Uh, a bit of both. Like, what does a typical day look like? What does a week look like? What is it? Not just what it's like in terms of the practical sense, but what it's like for you in terms of the emotional sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, typical day, I will. wake up, have some breakfast, go to the gym, do my normal morning routine, which doesn't change, never will, never has. And then I will either do something with a couple of my friends, go out for a meal or go out for a walk or something if some of them are around. If not, I will get going with work and have some time at work and then maybe do something with my friends in the evening. I mean, they all still work pretty typical 9 to 5 or scheduled hours jobs, so I kind of have to wait for them to be free. But obviously, I don't really have a limitation on when I can work. So whenever they're free, I can be free, which is always nice. It means I have a lot more time with friends. But yeah, so other than that, it'll be working, sales teams meetings, coming to the high ticket sales academy meetings, working on my own skills, and then the end of the day, sign off, do my end of day report, and go for another walk or read or do something that isn't just staring at a screen all day, considering that is what I do for majority of my life. But thank God for blue light glasses.
Yeah, too right. But so it sounds to me like you know, you mentioned it at the beginning of this interview. You said you've got freedom. And it sounds to me from what you've just described, like that would be a lot of people's dream, right? Is I can decide more or less when I work. Now, I'm guessing you can't take the piss, but to some extent you can control your own calendar.
Within reason, yeah. Like it was my mate's 21st birthday over the weekend just gone. And he phoned me on Thursday saying, "We're going to Liverpool. Would you like to come?" And I was like, "I'm there." I closed my calendar off, didn't take any calls, went to Liverpool, had a good time, and came back and got back to it.
That's crazy, dude. And
Something
what would that scenario have been like if you were still managing Mackey's?
Oh, it wouldn't have even I wouldn't have even had to think about not going because I wouldn't have been able to get the time off work. I probably wouldn't have even been able to afford it in the first place, to be honest. And I would have ended up probably being at work while they were all in Liverpool having fun. So it's like
Crazy.
the complete opposite end of the scale.
Crazy, mate. Talk to me a little bit about that because we've mentioned a couple of times, you know, what the kind of earnings were like as a manager at Mackey's. And you know, you don't have to say if you're not comfortable, but what is financial life like on the other side of making the leap into HTSA and getting a role, you know, with a great company? What's that like for you now?
I mean, I have no complaints. I mean, the first full month that I had, because I've joined like halfway through July, so that was kind of my ramp up period, as they'd say.
Hmm.
But my first full month, I actually broke a company record and did 15 closed deals in 1 month, which is the most anybody's ever done in their first full month in the company.
That is
Which,
insane. And how long has the company been going?
7 years.
So they've been going 7 years. You rock in and inside of 30 days, crush a company record.
Yep. I I was the highest generating setter on my pod. So there's 4 different pods, which are just groups of setters, all controlled by a pod leader, just to kind of split it up so you don't have one person trying to train 45 people. But I was the highest generating setter in my pod with I was so close to getting 100K. You don't understand how close I was. I was at like 98.7 and I was like, "Oh my god, I need one more deal." But I didn't quite get there, but still 98.7K revenue in my first month was the third performing setter in the whole company. And just for a bit more context, there are nearly 50 setters in the company now. So
And you did that in month one. Like, you know, yes, you had skills from HTSA, but you'd never worked the offer before and you'd never, you know, you'd never utilized their script before or anything like that. No.
nope. And then so yeah, first month was an absolute flyer, third in the company, and then even now in my second month, I'm in the top third setters for the company and have been for since the start of the month. So when it comes to earnings, obviously, I'm more than happy to share how much I earn. I mean, I made it was just over $4,000 in my first month, which obviously converting to pounds is still more than I was earning anywhere before. So I cannot complain.
Not bad at all. And I'm guessing that that has a compounding effect, right? Because I was on a live yesterday and somebody asked me, what are the things you like most about the remote closing high ticket space? And I was listing some things, location freedom, time freedom, and then we got into a little bit of the financials and I was explaining that to him. And I said, you you build a compounding effect month on month. And he said, well, how is that possible? And I said, well, as a loose example, right? Let's say it's a 10K offer and somebody goes in on a two pay. That means you'll earn whatever your percentage is, of the 5 grand this month, but you also then bank 10% of the 5 grand for next month.
Yep.
The guy's mind was blown. He was like, dude, what? And I said, why? He was like, well, that just doesn't happen in my world. I completely forgot to ask him what field he was in, but he said that just doesn't happen. Like if somebody comes in, even if they've paid over the course of 2 months, they'll pay 10K. You only get paid on the five. You only get paid on what you collect. And I was like,
That's
right.
crazy.
So every single month you start again from zero. And he was like, yep.
Well,
Whereas in
me,
our world, every single month you're actually building more and more revenue so that month two, you might start on 2 grand in commission and then you can add on top of that. And then month three, you might be starting on 3, 4 grand in commission and then you're adding on top of that, right?
yep.
How's that? What's that like?
You know what? That was not one of the things that I rubbed in my dad's face because I don't tend to, I don't tend to do that because he has been very good to me over the last couple of months. But he was like, "So you don't have a set bit like a set amount of money every month?" And I was like, "Well, yes, I do have a base salary that I get given every month, but that's not where my money's made." And I showed him like my commission tracker, and I showed him the money that I was going to start with this month, and he goes, "Oh my god, you've done that in like a whole month." I was like, "No, that's what I'm starting with this month." And he was like,
What was his reaction?
he was gobsmacked. He was like, "You're now going to do a whole month with that as your starting point." And I was like, "Yep." Honestly, I've never been so smug in my life,
The
but
old man's going to be trying to come into HDSA in a minute. He's going to be like, let me in.
yeah.
That's awesome.
But no,
That is awesome.
it's brilliant.
And what do you see like the long-term game plan for you?
So I've thought about this a couple of times. So closing is definitely at the top of my list out of a couple of options that I do have because it just seems well, it a doesn't really seem a lot different from what I'm doing now. Obviously, there's more objection handling and kind of learning how to use fancy reframes, which I don't really use in a set call, but that's definitely one option. But then another option that I have that I've already kind of not been put forward but been told that I would probably have a good shot at it is potentially going into some form of sales management and staying with the
Nice.
company that I'm with now because we've like I spoke with my pod leader about it and he was like by the end of this year our company's growing quick enough that we could potentially have another 2 or 3 pod leaders and he was like once it gets to that point like I see how willing you are to speak to people, how happy you are to help people out when you have the time. So I'm more than happy to put you forward for it. Just keep doing what you're doing and outperforming most people, and you'll I have no doubt that you'll get it. And
Dude, that's awesome. So there's
which is
there's actual real world career progression
oh yeah,
in the industry and the business.
yeah. No, even if it's not, even if it's setting, if it's closing, if it's management, if it's training, there's so many different roles within the high ticket space that you are almost spoilt for choice within reason.
Yeah, for sure. But all of those roles, I'm guessing, as you move up, whether you go to closer, whether you go to manager, closer, then manager, whatever it looks like, all of those roles then come with, in most cases, a significant bump in earning potential, right?
Oh yeah, and not to spill the beans of any of the pod leaders on my team, but just for like an example, 100% sure how it works in terms of, I'm assuming they get some form of commission based on what their team earns.
Yeah.
But even if that's the case, every single pod leader in our team would have made like $15,000 minimum last month. Even if it's the case that they get 2.5% of what their team makes, every single pod leader would have made at least $15,000.
Not bad. Nobody's scraping the cheese off your chips at 15K a month, are
Oh no, you're eating Wagyu steak and going on holidays for
they?
that,
You
man.
eat Wagyu steak, you're going to burn through that 15 racks pretty quick, dude. That shit's expensive. But nice to be in a position where you can see the progression, where you can see the next move for you, where you can, you've actually got a pathway to be able to go on and up and up.
Oh yeah.
Tell you what, let's finish on this. What's like, let's say, if everything goes according to plan in 12 months' time, what do you see yourself doing? Where do you see yourself being? Like, is it travel? Is it fine dining? Is it living somewhere different? Like, what's the kind of, short to medium term 12-month plan?
I mean, ideally in the next 12 months I won't be in the country. I plan on traveling to as many places as possible and hopefully doing it with a few of the boys as well, as we have spoken about it. And now that we are all in the high ticket space, it's very achievable. But no, 12 months, I plan on being out of this country somewhere sunny and living life from the promised lands, as they'd say. But also while still being able to work while doing it. I mean, that's one of the good things about remote working. You can do it from anywhere. And if I did want to just pack my bags and go to Colombia for a month, then see you later. Nothing's stopping me.
Medellin, here we come.
Oh yes, 100%. But
Nice.
yeah, that's like the big thing for me over the next 12 months. I want to travel. I've never even left the UK. Never been able to afford to. So now that I can, I will
Dude, that
definitely
is
take
awesome.
full advantage of that.
That is awesome. Okay, mate, we'll wrap there. Dude, it's been a pleasure. Appreciate you taking some time. I'm sure you've got, morning walks to get to and the gym to hit and all that kind of fun stuff. So
Breakfast.
I'll let you crack on with your day, but really appreciate you taking the time to chat, mate. And I'll see you inside of the High Ticket Sales Academy on some more training calls, I guess.
You sure will.
Let's get that bag, baby.
Yes, sir.
Cheers, dude.
Appreciate it.